All right, here we are. This is one of the final steps. I'm getting kind of excited. This is actually one of the ones that's got me the most nervous. I need to take this line set and connect it to the indoor cassette and connect it to the outdoor condenser and then charge the lines. So for this, I keep talking about what MRCOOL doesn't tell you. I found a tool list. Now, this is not a comprehensive tool list for everything. This is on page 24. This is step 6, sub-step 3, sub-step 1 tools needed for this portion. And what it's going to tell you need a whole bunch of wrenches depending on which size you need, or what size wrenches you need depends on which condenser size you have. And so I'm going to put a list of those up here, over there somewhere. I'll put that up there. Another thing you're going to need is if you've got an HVAC torque wrench. If not, use these. If you don't have these, 2 adjustable crescent wrenches will work. An Allen key 5mm, they gave me that. It's somewhere probably over there with the stuff. I got to grab that still. A Phillips head screwdriver, a leak detection spray, or soapy water. So just some detergent mix so we can test these seals after. The parts they send us that we're going to need, doesn't really say this, but we're going to need the line set, of course. Paralleling the line set is the drain hose. We're going to need the outside flashing to put on the wall, and I'm going to add one more thing that they don't include, but it's handy. I'm going to put some silicone caulk around there to waterproof this connection. And then you've got your sealing clay. I believe it's neoprene sealing clay that's going to seal the inside of this. They do say if you don't want to use this, you can use some expanding foam. I'm going to use this. And then, of course, your tar paper, or as they call it, the noise reduction, something or other. And that's just going to wrap around those joints after we verify they're sealed. Now, what I did is I've got this line set dropped down. Currently, I've got it dug in here a little bit deeper, a little bit extra room so it goes in, so when I put the wallboard in it's not crushed. I'm going to continue that trench down and then elbow it over down here to where I've got that 3.5-inch hole drilled for that flashing. Then what I have already done is measured from here to the outside. I'm looking at 46 or 47 inches. So I'm going to roll that out from my line set, give me about 46, 47 inches. And then I'm going to roll out the other side, and I'm going to have the coil right here where I've got my condenser right here. So it's not going to be right behind my condenser, and I'm doing that to give more ventilation room behind the condenser. And then I'm going to roll out enough from the center to connect to the condenser. And if all that goes as smoothly as I'm really hoping that it will, I'm gonna do everything in fast forward. So let's get moving at hyper speed and let's get this place warming up. Just on a side note, it was 30 degrees in here when I came in this morning in this shop. I have had 3 1500 watt electric heaters. 2 of them are actually forced air. One of them's a radiant heater running the entire time I've been in here today. So about 8 hours. It's gone from 32 degrees up to 47 degrees. So I have had a 15-degree jump over about 8 hours, and that is running way too much power. So hopefully this is going to be a good comparison, and I'm going to be able to run this, and we'll see if it takes out 8 hours to get a 15-degree jump from the MRCOOL. If it does, hopefully it's at least doing it with less, but I'm anticipating we're going to be able to get this not just up to 45, and I still got to wear a coat, but hopefully we can get this all the way up to mid 60s or even 70, depending on where I'm keeping this. So let's get to bending the line set and taking this last step of the install. One note I will put in here, because I'm going to be fast forwarding, I'm not going to talk through it then. There is a page in here where it says, if you don't have the torque wrench, read this, or it says read this very carefully, and it gives you the exact torque specifications, and it's based on the size of the pipe. There's a note down here at the bottom, says if you have a torque wrench, torque it down to that torque and you're good. It says if you don't, take these and get them to where they're snug and then go a little bit further. really exact, I know, but they say if you don't do it enough, it's gonna leak. If you do it too much, it's gonna leak and you're gonna break it. So, no pressure. Wait, isn't it a pre-pressurized system? Oh crap, too much pressure. I can't put too much pressure. I'm gonna go bend some line. Hopefully I don't kink it. All right, so what I'm running into is something I saw earlier, but I wasn't sure if it would stay a problem, or if so, how I would deal with it in the long run. What you can see here is these came from the factory with a 9 3/4 inch variance between the two caps. Here, I've got a 2-inch variance. So that gives me 7 3/4 inch of extra tubing that I'm not quite sure what to do with. The others are lined up pretty well, so I don't know. I mean, maybe this is an issue that happened when I came down instead of straight out. Maybe these are supposed to be, but in all the pictures, this 2-inch variance looks pretty consistent. This is the one that I see that is way out, and so I think what I may have to do is connect here and then do a bend in this one in here in the wall to eat up some of that space. Because I've tried to make up a little bit of that, and actually I can make up a couple inches of it, but by no means am I going to be able to eat all 9 inches. So one thing they say is leave these caps on until the last minute possible, because if any dirt, dust, water, anything gets in here, it's going to end in a bad day. So I'm going to just keep working it. So let's speed things back up. All right, we're back. It's about 23 degrees out here this morning. Whew, it's cold. So right here, this twists, this is fixed, and this is fixed. So this is the spinning part. Right here, in this gap right here, until this is tight, this will move. This part will move a little bit right there. Now it doesn't. On this one, it's this gap right here. So if that's still wiggling, it shouldn't be tight. So I tighten this one down until it got snug, and it doesn't give you, I mean, once it gets snug, it is snug quickly. So you really know if it gets snug nice and slow, it may be that you're not lined up right. You want to make sure there's no stress on this line right here, because if that binds at all, then you're going to fight that as you're tightening that nut. All right, I'm going to take these caps off and open this up. I've got a bottle of soapy water here I'm going to test my valves with, or I'm going to test these seals with, and hopefully we don't blow any bubbles. Well played. You put it too close to the ground for how long of a wrench you gave me. Well, I'm not seeing any bubbles, but that soapy water turned to ice as soon as it hit. So they say you got to do bubble test a few times. I'm going to do a couple more because that needs to heat up before I'm going to trust that it's not leaking. All right, let's go inside and do a bubble test on the other side, on the inside. Okay, one thing I find kind of confusing in the instructions is they tell you to check leaks, and then they tell you to check leaks over and over again throughout different parts. But the order they tell you to do it in doesn't necessarily work, because now they tell you, after you check this, they tell you to wrap it with the sound deadening pads, and then they tell you to check for leaks later. So that doesn't make sense to me, so I'm not going to do any final assembly until after I've got my electrical set up and I've done my test run, because they want you to test for leaks after that. If I wrap this with sound deadening, how do I check for leaks? Doesn't really make sense. So time for electrical. All right, I have charged the system inside up to the breaker box, but the breaker's off. I'm going to double check that. Just make sure there is no power coming into this panel before I start working here. So I've got 4 wires coming in. Line, line, neutral, ground. I've got 3 lines going out. Line, line, ground. If there's an electrician out there that wants to correct me on this, please let me know. I don't want to give bad advice, but really I'm not giving advice. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. I'm not an electrician. Consult the code. What I'm going to do is connect line to load, line to load. So that's the blacks and the reds, they're out. I'm going to connect this neutral to this neutral bar here, and the ground to the neutral bar also. And then I think I'm going to take the ground wire and actually ground the box itself. If there's a better way than that, or a more appropriate way than that, please let me know in the comments. All right, so I need to get the 30 amp fuses, drop those in, get a grounding lug, put that in, and that end's done. Now we just got to run this over to the air conditioner. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 are the indoor unit. L1, L2, and ground are the grounds. So okay, here's the wiring harness for the indoor unit. Looking at this, we've got a brown, a blue, and a black. Brown, blue, and black. They are numbered. The numbers are very hard to read. There are gray numbers on the black and black numbers on the red, and you're looking through a green thing, so it makes it kind of hard. Okay. So now the 1's easier to read, the 2's easier to read, 3's easier to read. So right now I've just got a clamp. I don't have a weatherproof clamp, so I'm going to have to upgrade that in the future. Shouldn't be too hard, just disconnect these 3 wires and it should slide right in, but it'll secure them for now. And that's the most important part for me. There is another screw here for another grounding screw. So if I did have a 4 wire, I could be running a ground at this point. So right now I'm running the green to neutral because that's where I hooked it up there. But if I was running a ground, I could be running that ground also. All right, so I was looking at this diagram right here, which just says brown, blue, black, 1, 2, 3. Right down here, 2 indoor unit, it says red, white, black. So red, white, black, even if you can't see the numbers, I didn't see it down here before, but it does show that it is red is 1, white is 2, 3 is black. So good on you there for doing that. These little blue sleeves, you know what, not really thrilled with them. All right, I'm not gonna cover this up until after I fire it up. Let's go check the instructions, see what else I gotta do. So when I received it, there was some impact damage on the exterior. The interior looked good, but until this actually got opened up, nowhere in the instructions did it say to check this, so I'd recommend opening everything up and opening this up and checking it before install. But this right here, this arm is broken off. There's clips here along the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th clip over here is broken off. But it did power on. So let's see if we just have a little bit of superficial damage or if there's something worse than that. All right, it says, just push on button. That's a plus. There it's opening up. Oh no. So it looks like there was some damage in shipping. I'm gonna reach out to MRCOOL, see what they wanna do. And that'll probably turn into another video, is how MRCOOL responds to damage during shipping, how big of a headache this turns into. So MRCOOL has passed all the tests. It heats, it cools, it's not leaking. Now let's go into hyperspeed mode and finish wrapping all this up. All right, let's talk space management for just a minute. They say 12 inches off the wall. I did that. I wouldn't have put this box here. I would have brought it over probably on the other side of it, or maybe even over here to where I could get at it without it being right behind there. I can get at it from over the top of it, and so I think that's okay. It just didn't give me a whole lot of room to work in there fighting this lid. The other thing I want to talk about that nobody says anything about as far as the MRCOOL is concerned, I couldn't find anything from them. All their pictures kind of show the cords, or sorry, the line set stacked vertically like this. It wasn't until my second time reading through the instructions that I actually found one little paragraph at the bottom that says, lay this down horizontally behind the unit. Well, from other research I did, I found that it's not good to have them vertically, because then what you do is you get loops here at the bottom that create pockets for oil. So as oil comes, it makes it up over the top, or it comes in, makes it up over the top, and then it gets stuck in that belly. And that made sense to me. And I thought about doing it back and forth in the wall to get rid of the extra that way, so it all came downward. The issue was I couldn't put this much line set in the wall right there. So I decided to come out here, and every video I've seen, they've stacked them like this. There have been videos I've seen from licensed HVAC installers that say this is bad. Cut the line set and shorten it, and although that violates some restrictions there. The solution is lay this horizontally. Lay it down flat, so instead of the circles like this, the circles will be like this. But they say do behind the machine, where they told you to keep 12 inches. I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but that's about 24. So one option I've got is to elongate these. They say don't do tighter than a 4-inch radius. Now I could do a 4-inch radii here and a 4-inch radii here. That gives me an 8-inch circle, 8-inch diameter, and that's still smaller than the 12 inches that they gave me. And so it would become an oval loop. I may try and do that because I don't want to put it over here, because then I see it being in place to get damaged. So I'm going to play with this. I've got the non-adhesive UV protectant. I don't have any issues with UV here. The sun never shines on this side, and if it does, there's shade above, so it's never really direct sunlight, but I feel that it is going to give it an extra layer of protection and cover up little spots like this, pull those in tight where it got snagged on things as I was moving it around earlier. And let's see, what else did I bring up? I've got I believe this is the sealing clay. I'm going to pack this in here to plug this up. I did stick some insulation. I did fill back in here with insulation, so I've got insulation, but keep the bugs out and seal it up, I've got this. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this. My concern is if I stretch it out at all so it's off the concrete, it's going to create a freeze point out here. So I'm probably going to end up tilting that down and snipping it and then hitting it into some kind of a gutter or some sort. But that doesn't have to get taped up, so that's just going to go off the side for now. I need a little bit of cord management, a little bit of cable management, and a little bit of hose management. And then I'm gonna, after I get all that done, I'll go to the other side and button up all the open access panels on the other side. But it's 51 degrees inside right now. It's freezing out here still. There's a puddle of ice where I checked the connections, and it dripped off the connections, hit the ground, and froze. So it's still cold out here. You don't want to be here all day, so I'm gonna speed this up. All right, here we are. It's done. A couple of things. My glue didn't stick, it was too cold. I'm gonna have to re-silicone that when it's warmer. The laying flat You want to lay those horizontal so you don't get oil traps. I'm hoping that's horizontal enough and that steep slope up on that side and steep slope up on this side don't cause me too much problems. I've got my disconnect. That is something that most likely you're going to have to come up with, is some way to disconnect the power within reach of the AC unit. But again, check your local code. The bolts and anchors for the cement, not included. The wire coming to your feed, not included. The electrical tape to tape the ends of the non-adhesive UV tape, not included. Little brackets to hold stuff securely, not included. 3-inch holes, 3.5-inch hole saw to get outside the house, not included. That's about all I'm remembering on the outside that was not included. So earlier when I was recording this, you could hear the fan in the background. I was using my Deity lavalier microphone. This is how loud it is from 4 feet away, just picked up with the microphone from the camera. So not really loud. I'm not even going to probably notice this on the inside, or wasn't able to notice this from the inside. Overall, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, but definitely possible to do it yourself. I did my own electrical. I'm not an electrician. I did my own HVAC. I'm not an HVAC tech. I probably should have read the instructions a couple more times before getting started, but in the end I was able to figure out what wasn't included and what wasn't said, and I was able to make it work.